Oh, that is brilliant. It's a hero maximum. On the ground, down the ground, another hero maximum.
Righto, welcome back to the Maximum Cricket Podcast. This is the Patreon Power Play, powered by our wonderful Patreons who foot the bill. Last week, we reviewed one of the greatest one-dayers in history. The time Australia became the first side to pass 400 but still lose. It was received well from the punters, so well that we decided to run it back, sort of. But as it's World Cup week, we wanted to make it World Cup related. The last time we did that, we went for one of the darkest days in Blackcaps history, the 2019 World Cup final. To be honest, it was a pretty tough pod, I'm not going to lie. This week, we decided we wanted to go the opposite route. A game that filled us with a lot of great memories. Look no further than the 2015 World Cup semi-final between New Zealand and South Africa. We've got Lugsy and we've got Jacko with me here today. Jacko, I believe you were keen to get something off your chest beforehand, something about a potential sponsorship or no sponsorship, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, it's come across my feed today, and I'm sure it's going to sort of trickle through as summer rolls round. But
check the stories.
Yeah. Check the stories. Pending comment from New Zealand's favourite retail, Rebel Sport, TMC will be putting a black line through Rebel Sport as an affiliate, mainly due to the worst ad I've ever seen. We're talking a guy with pads maybe up to his cock. We're talking Cookie Whites with New Balance kit.
Untucked.
With GM helmet, untucked. Probably the worst cover drive I've ever seen reenacted. There's enough good-looking cricketers out there, Rebel Sport. Just hire one of them to do your cricket campaign thing.
What does that say about the cricketers out there? Apparently, we're not. There's not a single good-looking cricketer that they had to get incorrect. A model that cannot play cricket.
Oh, you say that, but the good lids model. He's an Auckland A cricketer. Get him in there. Like, there's talent around in the cricket circles. And this popped up on my gram feed. Hence, I asked you about the gram hiatus crime earlier, but just purely atrocious. Ruined my night, ruined my day.
I can't wait to see this ad.
I won't shop there until I see like a public apology or something. That's absolutely disgraceful. But that's not why we're here, to talk about our non-sponsorship. Boys, the year was 2015. It was a Tuesday, not just any Tuesday. We were all three of us huddled around Ratbag's bar, a few of others in central Dunedin. Boys, take us back to the 2015 World Cup, a home World Cup. Paint us a picture for the listeners on what it was like for us in 2015. We'll start with yourself there, Lugsy.
Wow. 4 words I'll give for you for a Tuesday at IBs or Ratbags is half price, half meter. The sort of pizza, the pizza setup we were running most Tuesdays there. Wow, just a hell of a Tuesday. I mean, take me back to that whole period. Well, I mean, just one of the great 4 to 5 week runs in New Zealand cricket history. I would say the peak of New Zealand cricket fandom. I don't know if they've ever gotten as high as they were at that World Cup. BMAT was sending the message to believe in New Zealand, and everyone did. We dared to dream. So, and that particular Tuesday started at Jack Hunter's, and sort of watching it there, and then we moved on to IBs, and just a special Tuesday. It actually hurts looking back at times because you want to do it again.
I mean, I couldn't tell you where I finished that night, so it's nice to know you had some sort of picture of the night. It was
that's the option for man, had
Jacko, what do you remember?
Yeah, I mean, just echo what Crom said. I think that's my favourite period as a Blackcaps fan. I think you'd be hard pressed to be anyone and think of a better time to be a Blackcaps fan. It sort of felt like the Up the Wires movement. It felt like the 11 World Cup at home, the rugby one. Like, it was sort of the pinnacle of being a New Zealand fan. And rewatching that sort of long highlights today just took me straight back. I mean, I think I was freshly back from the UK, sort of net bowling / working at movie theatre, really just, peak club cricket lifestyle. But yeah,
Getting us
didn't
free
start till
movies.
5. Yeah, didn't start till 5 p.m. So could have a massive Tuesday. Don't know where I started watching the game. I don't know if I was at Jack's flat, probably was. But then yeah, down to IBs, and I just remember we had this table in front of the big screen, and there might have been a couple of tables of randoms behind us, but it was just covered. And I'm going to say meters of pizza. There was probably 4 or 5 of us, each got a half meter. I think we went back for. I think me and Crom split a second half meter each at one point. Lots of jugs. And I mean, we just been there when that six got hit into the crowd. It'll be my non-playing, probably favourite cricket memory, I'd have to say. So, blacked out. Don't remember the final, but that was a hell of a Tuesday.
I think the age that we're at sort of helps. Like you're in your 20s.
Oh yeah.
Like you don't really have any responsibilities. You just these things matter. You're drinking, obviously, and just things get a little bit wild. And rewatching this a couple times, it just takes you back immediately to the feelings you had. Like I thought it was like, you want to watch, like you want to feel good on a random weekday, and you chuck in your favorite comedy. Like you might be an Anchorman, a Step Brothers, and you know what's going to happen. You've seen it, you know all the lines, but it still makes you laugh. And that's the same effect this had. Like I knew it was going to happen, but it just made me feel so good all the way throughout. Like it's just great stuff.
Yeah, still got just as nervy when Grunter was hitting those balls up in the air to sort of in between fielders. Like you just thought, like, shit, I know this is a highlights package, but this is one where we lose this because Grant Elliott just holds out again. But thankfully not.
Okay, should I?
We'll get to
I'll try and.
Worst, I reckon.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. I'll try to do a recap, a re-summary if I can. South Africa, they chose to bat. Opening up, they had an old Hashim Amla and a young Quinton de Kock opening up for South Africa. They were met by the ball absolutely hooping around from Southey and Bolt. Do not remember Kookaburras doing it like hooping like that beforehand or after. Both of those guys breathing fire in that tournament. Amla and de Kock were dismissed by Bolt with the score at 31 for 2 inside 7 overs. One of the more fascinating periods followed as McCullum just absolutely went gung-ho for the kill, setting overly attacking fields. There's we'll get to a picture of the match, but there's a picture with like McCullum having 5 slips at one stage in a one-day international, and just bowling out his main frontline bowlers, just going for that kill. And South Africa just were in survival mode. They weren't going quick. They were going They were lucky to go 4 and over that period. Faf du Plessis and Riley Rousseau. They played and missed a few times, but ultimately they did their job. They blunted New Zealand's attack so that when they lost their third wicket at 114 for 3, the best player in the world and South Africa's captain, AB de Villiers, came in and the stage was set. De Villiers, Faf, put on 100 in just 12 overs as they took apart New Zealand's 5th, 6th and 7th bowling options because McCullum had bowled so many overs from his frontline bowlers. It meant de Villiers in particular could dine out on bowlers like Anderson, who went at 12s, Grant Elliott, I think Williamson bowled a little bit. He was 60 off just 38 as the heavens opened up just as they were about to really put us to the sword. The game was revised to 43 overs a side when they returned. New Zealand strike straight away, dismissing Faf for a very well composed 82. While everyone was worried about de Villiers, it was actually David Miller who then took apart New Zealand for the next 5 overs, 49 off just 18 balls, as South Africa scored 64 in those 5 overs, and AB just made 5 runs in that time. New Zealand was then set 298 to win off just 43 overs. But after Duckworth Lewis adjustments, the required run rate was 6.93. That run rate was down to 5.97 after 5 overs. As New Zealand absolutely came out of the gates, all guns blazing, taking 71 off the first 5 overs at a run rate of 14 and over. Martin Guptill was on 6 at that time. Brendan McCullum, 59 off 25 balls as he took apart Philander, Morkel, Steyn. kind of ironic. I didn't have this down, but I was just thinking about McCullum's reign, where Philander, Morkel, Steyn took apart New Zealand for 45 all out. It's nice that it's come around full circle, but I digress. Morne Morkel was able to get Africa back, getting rid of McCullum and then Williamson for not many. Ross Taylor got the win okay until Taylor was involved in his 178th run out of his career. This time it was Guptill that fell for 34. And when Taylor was strangled down the leg side by JP Dermody for 30, it really was South Africa's game. New Zealand now 149 for 4. They needed some consolidation. Thankfully, because of McCullum's run rate, the run rate was under control, so Grant Elliott and Corey Anderson could ease into their work. Those two put on 103 and 16 overs to put New Zealand back on top. Corey Anderson was brutal for his runnable 58. But just as he was about to put the final nail in South Africa, Morne Morkel stepped up again. Anderson skied what felt like one of the highest hits I've ever seen in my life, one of the most pressure catches ever from Faf. He took an unbelievable catch. Luke Ronke was dismissed not long after, and at 269 for 6, New Zealand still needed 29 off 17 balls. Elliott and Vettori chipped it around until the final over, where they needed 12 off the last over. Dale Steyn, perhaps South Africa's greatest ever bowler, was the bowler to bowl the last over. The first ball, slower ball to Vettori, beaten, but they run a bye, 11 off 5. Second ball, full toss outside off. Elliott smokes it. Slightly aerial, De Villiers attempts to dive forward to catch it, but he gets it on the half volley. Hits his knees, I think. New Zealand run a single, 10 off 4. Third ball, one of the most underrated shots of this game. Steyn bowls pretty much the perfect delivery, wide hole. Vettori backs away, throws his bat at it, squeezes the ball between point and third man, somehow gets it with enough power that he gets a boundary, 6 off 3. Fourth ball, short ball from Steyn. Vettori misses it. They run another bye, 5 off 2. Fifth ball, the first time that Steyn actually misses his length. It's a length ball outside off stump, and as so wonderfully called by the great Ian Smith, Elliott hits it into the grandstand, and New Zealand are in the World Cup final. Grant Elliott, Superman. Boys, one of the great days, and not just Blackcaps history, but I would say New Zealand sports history. I don't even know where to begin. We could start at the start or the middle or the end. Just start wherever you like, fellas.
Yeah, I mean, Smitty recaps it. Calls it the Garden of Eden. So, we'll start right at the beginning. I don't think I've ever seen New Zealand bowl better, and they were 30 for none off 3 overs. It felt like they would. It just felt like they, like. I was watching this today, and it started from sort of over 1, but it felt like there was about 40 dismissals in this game, and only sort of the 12 went to hand. That first spell, Ronke, this might be his worst game as a Blackcap, I think. And didn't score many runs, dropped a couple of dollies, but we got there anyway, so that's all good. But just an exceptional sort of opening spell from Southey and Bolt. Fair enough from McCullum going sort of foot on, because sort of we saw against England that the swing can just rip through up top and that later in that World Cup. But Eden Park was rocking, and it was throughout the whole World Cup. So yeah, with the ball, exceptional early New Zealand, probably unlucky. So that's maybe our first big what if. But Africa did very well to get to a total, and could have been seriously big without that rain.
Yeah, I think for me, when I think about this, is like there's probably a few games if you were going to define the McCullum era of like what you'd show them as to why people believed in that side, and sort of believed in McCullum and sort of hold him in a bit of folklore even now. And this is one of the games. Like the captaincy, whether you sort of thought it was too aggressive or not, that's what he did. Slip fielders in, the way he batted, the crowd going wild. It was like New Zealand teams of old. I don't know if they handle that sort of crowd, but the way McCullum came out and blasted it, and the way he led with the captaincy, the way he put fielders in, always attacking, you just started to believe more than Blackcaps fans were used to. and you sort of thought if he leads the Charge, we'll go with him. So it's just everything about it for me. The crowd, Smithy on comms, Warney in there on comms, the way McCullum captained, the way he batted, it just sums up that era perfectly for me.
100%, 100%. Right, let's move on to some categories, and we'll obviously dive a little deeper into the game as we get through. I'd be surprised if the Hairy Javelin doesn't win this award, because it is named after him. It is the Hairy Javelin Award for the defining picture of the match. Obviously, Grant Elliott arms aloft, Superman. It's pretty iconic, but I will throw out another few. Obviously, the Grant Elliott picking up Dale Steyn has to be mentioned. Jacko, I believe you'll have something to say about that. There is. I mentioned it before. Just that there's a picture of the Blackcaps cordon. Like I said, 5 slips in a one-day international is just unheard of. It sort of captures like if someone told you that South Africa got about 280 in like 43 overs. You wouldn't have suspected that at some point McCullum had 5 slips. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. And then there's sort of the last picture I've got is just the whole Blackcaps. It's led by McCullum, and they're doing like a lap of honour around Eden Park. And I think that sort of encapsulates just what that ride meant for New Zealand at the time, for me. So, boys, any other nominations?
Yeah, I mean, I sort of said on it this morning, ever since that Lee, Flintoff comforting Lee, every other comforting photo is just not as good for me. Still a great snap, still a great moment of sportsmanship, but it feels like, ask for McDonald's, mum says we've got food at home, this is the food at home sort of thing. So it's still a great pick, not sort of taking away from the pick, but just those sort of picks will never be as good. I think the one with Elliott arms up, staying like on the ground, head and hands, it's no better. It's the snap of the game. Like, you probably, like, when I thought back at this game, you almost forget the entire game apart from that one ball, like, in your memory. So, that's easy. And there's a great snap of Steyn sort of sitting there throwing away his sweatband just in the middle of the pitch, which is a hell of a snap. But obviously very disappointed, but just one of those things. But yeah, one of the great games, and there's only one photo for it. It's just after the defining moment, and yeah, Grunter with those arms raised, it's got to be number one.
Yeah, I'll just quickly shout out one more or two more, because obviously, the Jav's arm up is our winner. But I think that there is a great photo of McCullum and Vittori arm in arm, and it's like that was sort of, the old firm there almost sort of looked at them like, fuck, I've seen some rough times in this Blackcaps outfit. Like, they've been through it a bit more than anyone else, and like for them to have their moment was so good. So I was like, just them two arm in arm is great. And if we extend this just ever so slightly to best video, I mean, go to YouTube and search best dancer in New Zealand. And you'll see the horse at his absolute best. I seriously encourage, if you want a man fizzing about some cricket, please go to YouTube, search best dancer in New Zealand, and it's worth your 50 seconds.
We should have him on, actually, to just help us review this game.
That would have been a good option, actually.
Could be a bonus.
Yeah. The Bradman Award for the best stat of the game. There's 3 that I've managed to dig out. You guys might have some more. Brendan McCullum made 328 runs in the tournament at a strike rate of 189, the highest out of any player in the whole tournament. Like, just to think, that's actually wild. The next stat was this game was actually the battle of the chokers. It looks odd thinking about that now because of the Caps' success since that period, but before this game, New Zealand had made 6 semi-finals, including the previous 2. South Africa had made 3 semi-finals. Neither side had won a semi-final.
Still haven't won one. So.
Still haven't won one. Well, yeah, won a Test championship, but that's whatever. And also my last stat, going into this game, the semi-final, Grant Elliott had 143 runs in the tournament in 6 innings averaging just 23 with the bat with 0 50s. And then he
Wow.
finished averaging 44 with 2 50s in the semis in the final. I mean, it's a hell of a turnaround for Grant Elliott.
Big moment player.
Any other stats you sort of found, lads?
Yeah, but probably not an exact stat, but probably a good place to bring it up. Just the amount of like drop chances, missed runouts, like opportunities missed in this game would have to be close to the highest ever. Like I swear there was probably like at least 10 drop catches. South Africa took the bails twice in a run out. There was another 2 or 3 just like complete easy looks at stumps. I mean, I know it's high pressure cricket, but I can't remember looking at a highlights package, which probably features as many missed dismissals as sort of bombs hit. So not an exact stat, but quite fascinating to watch.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing I completely forgot or wouldn't have thought is they did splash on the highlight package that South Africa were the tournament favourites going in. I wasn't aware of that, and I'd love to see
I don't
the
know
odds.
if that was true, but
it was
that true?
on the TV though, so who we did
yeah, I know. I don't know if they're just
Surely
saying
Aussie
things.
in Aussie is a pretty.
I mean, that's exactly what came to mind.
It was a very good
And
South
then-
African team. It was a very,
Oh,
very
good
good
side.
side.
Very.
Yeah.
And also, did you see it flash up just on that highlight package? I think we all watched the same one. If it had been a tie, we would have just gone through.
Yeah.
We were the higher ranked side.
Do you know what's funny? I don't want to bring up the 2019 World Cup, but if they had that same rule in 2019, we would have won the World Cup. I don't want to,
That was going to be an unanswerable question.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Wait, were they? Actually, I have to look at the tables. Maybe we didn't, but maybe I just made that up. But that's neither here nor there.
We'll find a way to win that World Cup one day.
Okay, righto. Shot of the game. On the lookout for this award to be named after someone. Not too sure. Any thoughts? Maybe like a Ricky Ponting shot of the game, like after his pull shots. Maybe, I don't know. Just workshopping
To be fair,
If you got any ideas, like please do send us a comment.
Yeah, I don't mind the Ricky Ponting one, and funnily enough, it's not for the pull shot. It's for that charge check straight drive he hit for 6 in that game. Which
in this game.
I mean, no. And I don't know what game it was. Can't remember. But just running at a guy, checking straight drive for 6. Maybe the best shot I've ever seen. But yeah, just clip that in for me here, so I don't look like a wally. But I don't hate the Ricky Ponting shot of the game.
Yeah, we'll workshop for now. So here are my nominations for this game. Starting with AB de Villiers. I'll start with AB de Villiers. When he charged Corey Anderson. And then he also pulled him straight down the ground into the second tier of Eden Park. Like, it's just, you forget how good AB de Villiers is sometimes when you watch him back. Like, he is.
I think Corey Anderson I think he forgot that it was international cricket and he wasn't still 15 playing bowling bounces at bloody 14-year-olds that couldn't handle it. He just decided to go short at AB de Villiers time after time, did he?
Yes, I guess he did. Went at 12 this game. I couldn't think of one in particular shot from McCullum. There was so many.
I've got one.
I'm gonna go
there's one
first
for me.
6.
There's one.
That first 6 in the first over. Just when
over extra
just
cover
set the
off
standard,
Stain.
like he cut him. He sort of cut him for 6 over point. I just think that set the standard. For mine, I've got a Corey Anderson pull shot. I love his pull shot. He just muscles it. And our last 2, I've got Vittori squeezing out Dale Staines Yorker for 4 in that last over. Again, underrated. And obviously the Grant Elliott winning shot. It's be tough to beat that one. But any other nominations, Jacko?
Yeah, McCullum going inside out over extra cover off Stain has got to be pretty close to the shot of the game. That was, I remember watching that today and thinking that's just an obscene cricket shot against Stain at the sort of top of his powers at the time. But that final shot is maybe the best shot in New Zealand cricket history. So it's got to be that.
Yeah, I love the Vittori one because that's the one sort of as a smug cricket fan, I like to point at. You know, when you're trying to feel a bit better than other people and they talk about the hairy jab one, you go, yeah, but that Vittori one, mate, that's the one that gave us a chance. But for me, there was a straight drive from BMAC from Stain that BMAC smoked, and I think it near went on the roof. That was as clean as that was honestly as clean as you like. That was nearly out of the Garden of Eden. So that was out there for me. I mean, it's obviously Jav, but that BMAC six was incredible.
Yeah, no, I can't fault any of those. I'll go Jav as well for obvious reasons. The Glenn McGrath 2005 award for the turning point of the game. We touched on the missed chances. I've got here. There was a couple of missed runouts from South Africa. AB de Villiers' missed runout was egregiously bad looking back. Like, it was a terrible throw. Grant Elliott is like, he'd be closer to the other end than the bowler's end. And AB de Villiers just come flying in, tried to pick it up in one go, maybe just got a bit ahead of himself and just took out the stumps. Pretty much the same sort of thing happened to De Kock. Same, got it on the half volley, got a bit aggressive. Elliott was coming back for two. This was in the 40th over, I think. So those two are there. The rain delay, just as South Africa are about to launch, there's talks of that's the turning point. And my last one is Elliott dropped in the 42nd over. Just with that collision was you forget how close. Like, if they caught that game, that's actually game over at that point. And like that's I mean, if I'm a South African fan watching that back, that's a tough watch because that's not great. So any others, lads?
Yeah, I think the rain. I'll probably classify the rain as the big what if, as opposed to like the turning point. I know, cricket's a weird game that, if there wasn't rain, Faf could have got out the exact same way or all got cleaned up. But so more of a massive what if the rain for me. But yeah, I think that catch with the collision is it. That's Bolt stepping on the boundary stuff. That is World Cup. South Africa's in the final if they catch that. Like, it's probably, similar to New Zealand running out Dhoni in the semi in 2019. Like, it's just, that is just a nice, clean as you like, should be taken at that level. That's got to be number one. The run out, sort of always tricky, barehanded at the bowler's end. But yeah, that catch has got to be it. If they take that Africa into the final, no matter what's happened pre that game, they win it if that gets taken.
Yeah, for you.
Yeah, I mean, I won't expand too much. 100%. That's the biggest moment. The rain factored in, obviously, and we'll talk about that a bit later again. There's a few like drop chances from us as well that you wonder what would happen, but they're not really turning points because we still won. So yeah, 100% that moment.
Yeah, I mean, I'll second that. It's pretty hard to. Jacko makes a very good case. The Stuart Clark Award I forgot he played, formerly the Andy Mackay Award, but we sort of tweaked it because it's not just a bad player or a player that's sort of probably not up to that level. It's a player that you probably shouldn't forget, but you have forgotten he's out there. Sort of players that pop up in the weirdest spots, like Stuart Clark being in that 400 ODI. So my nominations, I've got a couple. Forgot Riley Rousseau used to play for South Africa like way back then. Like, I just forgot that. Didn't realize that he's sort of been a T20 sort of mogul now, like sort of real good like T20 player. I forgot that De Kock was a very, very young De Kock was in that side. Thought it was a little bit later.
Can I just pause you there quickly? How hurt did De Kock look going out? I mean, there's genuine near tears streaming down the face.
He's got the biggest whiny face ever.
He's got that real youthful, like quite scared, whiny, like that really hurt. And I'll tell you what was great in the background, they're just playing Only Love Can Hurt Like This, just as he trots off with the saddest face going. Just really good stuff.
Oh, De Kock. The other ones I've got, I forgot. For some reason I forgot Matt Henry was actually the third seamer. Did a job. Thought he was a little bit later, but No, forget who's playing that game. My last one is AB de Villiers bowling death overs.
That's it.
That's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
I
not.
was going to point this out.
Yeah.
Why didn't he go at 12s? Like that is just wild.
Why
I
did he
actually,
bowl
yeah. Why is he bowling? Yeah. I mean, I probably had. It was tough thinking who was here. So I actually had a list of things that had sort of happened that I'd forgotten about. De Villiers bowling right up there. I mean, that shocked me to see. Kane bowling as well. Sort of very interesting. But I think the biggest thing I'd forgotten about, which sort of reared its head there, was the two catch a million. Those orange tees with the target. I'd forgotten that they had swept the nation, and you saw those two catch a million tees just all over the place. It was a great time, and you get your box of Tuies which you pour down the drain, but you get the t-shirt and you head along. So I had the Tui catch a million movement there as my sort of the Stuart Clark big player that you'd forgot was there because that was a hell of a time to be a cricket fan. The Tui catch a million.
Yeah. We're very on the same page here, Jack. I mean, you don't throw those toys out there. You leave them for when you get home about 3:34, washing at last resort sort of stuff. You don't throw them out though.
No.
Yeah,
you bring 8 and leave a 12 sort of job.
Yeah, I had that actually under the best kit category, but I'm happy to put it here because that stood out like a sore thumb to me.
We could probably sort of combine these two segments because it's kind of like what's aged the best, and I didn't really have a place to put it, but I might add this one to this list. Batting power plays, sort of forgot they were a thing. Like back in the day, like Rogley in like the 30th over, like you're only allowed 2 outside the circle, and it's just absolutely carnage for a bit there.
We got these 2 guys set, boys. Time to get the power play.
Okay, couple more segments to go. Apex Mountain. There's an obvious answer, but I want to run through a few others. The obvious one is Grant Elliott. It's going to be a pretty unanimous one. Yeah. That's a yes for him. Corey Anderson. Apex Mountain for Corey Anderson. Pretty close. I don't know.
He got that pretty fast 100 in Queenstown.
Yeah, I was going to say that. What leads to the biggest T20 contract? I wonder, because it's whatever probably leads to that. It's probably his biggest moment.
Yes, it's a fair point. It's a fair point. Hard to because I guess like
this
innings was kind of like the end. This innings was kind of the end, if you know what I mean. It probably wasn't the peak. So I don't mind that. Just cricket in New Zealand in general. I think so. There's 100%. No way that it's never been bigger than that point. The World Test Championship final is not quite the same. Kind of leads into the next one. Is it the Apex Mountain for the Blackcaps? Like, do you put this moment over the World Test Championship? Feels like it's the World Test Championship, but you could see the case for this game.
Yeah, it's something about like we played every game in New Zealand, and this was the last game in New Zealand. It did feel like a final sort of thing. Like it was that peak of them being at home, and then we're sending them to Aussie to maybe win it, but. It did feel like a real peak for. It's definitely the white ball, the best white ball moment in New Zealand cricket history for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe the Champions Trophy was pretty big, I suppose. For sort of.
I was going to say, don't you dare disrespect my 2000 Championship Trophy.
I'll never. Bring this one
way higher than that.
But yeah, so I mean, definitely for white ball, the Test Championship was huge. I still remember that. That's unreal stuff. But it sort of started our sort of real sort of stretch as a top cricketing nation this tournament. So I don't know if it would be the peak of us as a nation as a cricket team, but close. I think it started the peak.
Yeah, it's hard to
I think if you ask New Zealand cricket fans, or less New Zealand cricket fans, casual fans, what their biggest memory is, I think it would be this over anything. This moment in this period.
When we do the Patreon 1070 and look back, 2015 to sort of 2019 will be the peak New Zealand cricket era, I'd say.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. for sure,
well,
100%.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what,
Um,
just one more. I'd
yeah,
love if you ever do get that chance to interview the White Whale, our goat Smithy. I'd love to know what he thinks his peak is as a commentator. Sorry, when he thought he
Yeah.
was at his absolute best, because
yeah.
this talk special from Smithy, from that Aussie game with Warney to this, it's special from
It's
Smithy.
hard because the World Cup final, it probably wasn't his peak, but it like professionally, that 2019 World
Yeah,
Cup probably was like worldwide.
Mm.
So I would
yeah,
imagine, yeah. I mean, I don't know him, but personally, it's probably that it probably is. But professionally, the 2019 probably pips it. Right, we've got time for unanswerable questions. I've only got one for you guys. Would South Africa have beaten Australia in the final?
Ooh.
that's mine.
Yeah.
Nah,
I think they would have. I think they would have got closer. Put it that way.
Yeah. We didn't come close, which was pretty tough. But as I said, I don't remember the second half of that game, so it doesn't matter. Yeah. The only other unanswerable, I think, is what happened if it didn't rain. I
yeah,
mean,
Yeah,
we scored 342 overs. So, like, what were we chasing? Like, what weren't we chasing? I think we know what happens if that catch gets taken off Grant Elliott. I think, like, it's pretty answerable if that happens. South Africa win, we lose. New Zealand cricket's dead forever. But yeah, I think the rain and then does Africa win in the final? Probably two big ones.
yeah. That was the biggest one I had. Is how does Africa go? Just trying to think of some others there, but yeah, that's the big one. How would a South Africa go on? What would happen if it rained? Because obviously the hard part of a run chase is like keeping it going, extending it. So
Yeah,
say we had to chase 370 and 50, that's a lot bigger task.
yeah, 100%. And actually, I was watching things. I was like, what if Ross Taylor could run between the wickets, just in general?
That's just the life of us.
Like, do we win that like 3 down and 35 overs if Guptill and Ross just stay going?
we'll never know. Right, I better wrap up as the time's about to run out. That is us for another week. We hope you enjoyed the special Patreon Power Play. If you are here on YouTube, please leave a like, leave a comment, or even subscribe for a little bit more. If you're feeling extra generous and you want to support us here at TMC, maybe you just don't want to pay for that YouTube premium and you want to listen on the go. We all get that. Have a look at patreon.com/maximumcricket for the audio-only edition. Lugsy, Jacko, thanks as always, and we'll catch you next week.
Thanks, mate. I believe the pinch hit is still looking for players and the free Patreon is still standing. So hit up Ricky Black.